find today in the gospel, the people, after the multiplication of the loaves and the fish, calling Jesus the prophet. They say, this is indeed the prophet who is to come into the world. But if you pay attention to this, what just happened, he hasn't preached. He had performed a miracle, but they call him a prophet. Not indeed because of what he said, but because of what he did. They are referring to a prophecy, to a promise that we find in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 15. Quote, it says, "The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your brethren. Him you shall heed." End of quote. So what the people are saying is, we have found that prophet that is like Moses. What do they mean? Well, first, a clarification. Many people in the time of Jesus were waiting for the Messiah, but not as a political, military person who would drive away the Romans and liberate the nation from the Roman Empire. They were waiting, most of them, for a new Moses, someone who would indeed liberate them. And so when they see Jesus doing this miracle, feeding the multitude, then they say, this is like Moses. This is the new Moses. He is feeding us the same way that Moses did when he pleaded and God gave them the manna from heaven. And he also fed all the people of Israel. So to say, this is the one that we were waiting for. Now, this is very important because this opens a chapter that we will be reading for the next week, with the exception of Sunday. The reading on Sunday is a different one. But the entirety of chapter 6 of the Gospel of John, we will be breaking it in little passages throughout the Masses. This week, the end of this week, today is Friday, but tomorrow and next week. And we will see how he starts talking about a new manna, a hidden manna that he brings from heaven, etc. It's what is called the discourse of the bread of life. But today he anticipates the Eucharist. He will be talking about the Eucharist throughout this chapter. But he anticipates it. Notice that in the Gospel of John, there's no institution narrative of the Eucharist. Instead, we have this beautiful discourse of the bread of life. And he anticipates it with this sign of the multiplication of the loaves. Because it's a sign. John doesn't call miracles miracles. He calls them signs in his gospel. It's a sign of a deeper reality. So the multiplication, the feeding of the people, it's pointing to something deeper. What? The Eucharist. Where we are all fed, not just with bread, but with bread from heaven, with a hidden manna, with something that nourishes for the journey. And so I'll leave it just at this point, preparing all that's coming up in upcoming homilies and really in the upcoming readings that we will be doing throughout the next week.